I'm Jennifer Whitten, and for the better part of a decade, my practice has revolved primarily around reverse glass painting, which is a technique where you apply paint to the back of a sheet of glass with the intent of viewing it from the opposite side. It's a really technically challenging process, but especially since my paintings are hyper-realistic. But I found that I really relish in the puzzle of figuring it all out. So when you're painting on the back of the glass, you have to think of your subject kind of like a mirror image. And things like highlights, where normally on a canvas they'd be the last thing you paint, you treat them like mountain peaks. I treat the highlights more like valleys. So I push the paint, push things like details through the wet paint to the bottom of the layer so that you can see it from the other side. So it's basically a reversal in every possible way. Working this way has really deepened and expanded my understanding of painting, both from a technical and a conceptual standpoint. I remember the first time I exhibited these reverse glass paintings, I hung them on the wall, and I felt really deflated that the backs were covered up, because I'd really, up to that point, loved the dichotomy between the front and the back. So the front had this slickness to it. It's cold, impenetrable, almost photographic, whereas the backside is much more textural, painterly, vulnerable, and I really loved that dichotomy between the two. I felt like it was a really beautiful process-driven metaphor. So in response to the letdown of the first installation, I decided to begin inserting the paintings into these steel plinths and positioning them in the middle of a space so that the viewer could walk all the way around the painting and experience both sides, and experience that dichotomy I was talking about. And coincidentally, I also noticed that when a viewer would walk behind the painting, because there were sections of the glass that were left unpainted, the viewer became part of the composition momentarily. And this created an ever-changing kind of 4D picture plane. And following the impulse to do this emboldened me to incorporate other time-based media like video, music composition, and dream up more ambitious and complex installations. And most recently, I've been looking at ways to combine reverse glass painting with stained glass, and I've been exploring ways in which we visualize time. So sheet music, star maps, and things like astrological imagery. Teaching has been a wonderful vehicle to connect with people while completely inhabiting my authentic self. And it's proved to me that art is important to people, which, if I'm honest, is a mantra that keeps me going when it's 4 a.m. and I'm still sitting at the easel alone. Teaching is this reciprocal, symbiotic relationship, and it's a way to strengthen the knowledge I've acquired by sharing it, and I've learned that you gain power by empowering other people. So teaching at the art room has granted me the chance to play a part in shaping a culture. And no matter how large or small the ripples wind up being down the line, I feel this incredible sense of agency working here. And rather than accept the model we've been given or commiserate and add to the battered chorus of people saying that art school is damaging, cynical, insular, adversarial, counterproductive, I feel like we've chosen instead to champion education in the arts, and forge the kind of learning environment that we wish we'd had ourselves. And I found that this begins with a deep sense of trust from every side, where self-belief gives all of us, so students, teachers, oversight, the confidence to challenge ourselves and to continually expect more from our respective practices. And not for some arbitrary external metric for success. And there's an equilibrium between the pursuit of skill and the quest for meaning that I haven't found anywhere else. And I think because of this ethos, teaching at the art room feels incredibly invigorating and purposeful. And the new space is incredible too. It really makes the original vision of forging our own path feel like a tangible thing. And I'm so proud to work in a place alongside such a brilliant and talented group of practitioners and hungry, dedicated students, and where my teaching is supported by such tremendous resources and facilities. If I could go back and advise my student self, well, first of all, I'd give myself a hug, but I'd also say when someone insists that you make art contrary to the way that you want to make art, and it feels arbitrary, it most likely is. And it's much more worthwhile to invest your energy in understanding, and I mean truly understanding, why you're drawn to make work the way that you want to make work. And I would say do this with genuine curiosity and compassion. And skill for its own sake won't teach you much about yourself, but your devotion to it will. It's a form of self-expression that's as valid as any other, but only if you learn to see it that way. If I had to pick three, at the moment, I would definitely have to say Katie Patterson, Leonardo da Vinci, and Tomas Saraceno. And I'd love to have a conversation about the relationship between the metaphysical and the scientific, and where the poetic and the factual intersect. And as someone who started out in science, I can appreciate the quest to find truth in cold, hard facts, but I've always felt like empiricism is lacking something. I feel like Leonardo's sheer breadth of inquiry started to reveal the deep connection between science and art. And artists like Katie and Tomas have found ways of expressing the poetry of fact. And there's an emotive gravity to their work that I'd really love to achieve in my own.